can you just kind of give people a little bit of context on your upbringing and then when you kind of got into the whole reselling and flipping game?
Yeah, so I grew up super poor, for lack of better terms. Food stamps, welfare, government health care. I was a bad kid, neglected. My parents divorced at a young age, both been in jail and prison. I've been in group homes, foster home, lived with everyone in my family. I had been homeless, lived in hotels for a lot. And just growing up, I didn't have a super good life. I lived near this amusement park that was free, the boardwalk, free to go in, but you couldn't have any fun. And because of that, and because I could never ask my dad for a dollar or anything, I hustled really hard in there. I came up with all these scams on how to make money inside the amusement park, like to run little scams on the games and all this stuff. And that was the beginning of hustling for me. Then in school, selling candy and pencils, and we used to go to apartment complexes and steal the recyclables, and then fill up shopping carts and push them a mile away, and then go recycle them, for like $20, or steal people's flowers and try and sell them back to them, or their fruit, or buy one newspaper and pull all of them out of the machine and then go stand by the bus stop and try to sell newspapers for a buck. Like all different kinds of hustles. And that turned out later into life into selling on eBay when eBay was running commercials in the early 2000s, like 98, 99 or something. Sold a bunch of stuff on eBay, whatever my mom would let me sell. And then when we ran out of stuff to sell, we started buying stuff off eBay. Then I started learning more and more about how to make money on eBay. um, Actually found a woman, got married, had a kid, dropped out of high school when I was 16, all of them the same year. Started working full time and then realized I really hated the 9 to 5 life, right? I hated working for other people. And so I really wanted to hustle more and figure out how to make it more stable. And so I just pushed as much as I could. And eventually I started seeing people that were buying books at thrift stores, and they were buying a lot of books, and I was more than the average person would ever buy, and I would see them regularly at different stores that I was going to. And at the time I was only buying stuff I knew about, like electronics, video games, just stuff like that, antique stuff, just totally random stuff. And I would see them once in a while, and they would have like a barcode scanner of some sort scanning them. And this was, mind you, before the iPhone came out, before YouTube came out, and anything. So, and I'm technologically minded. So to see that and to see them, I'm like, oh, these guys must be making some money. Like that barcode scanner got to cost like $100, $300. People don't buy stuff like that just to play around. So I was trying to ask them what they were doing, and they would never tell me. They would clam up. And so I was like, "Oh, wow, this is serious." So, I started looking into it more and more, and I finally figured out they were selling them on a place called Amazon, which I'd never heard of. And they were using, different software. At the time, it was on Microsoft, or, on Dell PDAs, Axum X5. It's like a dinosaur thing with a compact flash. Like, you had to be a super nerd to figure out how to use it. Luckily, I am a super nerd, so that worked out for me. And so then we started selling books on Amazon, and that was a little over 15 years ago. The last time that was my last 9 to 5 job. I worked at a skate shop at the time, and we were selling books, and I was making some decent money, but I still needed more money to buy more books. I could buy more books, but I didn't have any money to buy more books because books don't sell very fast. They sell for good return. Like, you could buy it for a quarter or 50 cents and sell it for $10, $20, $50, $100. And most people think they're worthless, but they don't always sell overnight. It's like a catalog game, kind of like real estate or whatever. So I needed more money to buy books, and it was working. And I actually convinced my wife. I was like, look, babe, I need to use our grocery money because it's the only extra money we had. We were check to check at the time. We had, what could we take out of our budget? You can't not pay rent or bills, at least not for too long, right? So I was like, grocery money. And growing up how I did, I knew that we could eat at the homeless shelter. We could get food from churches or whatever. And so that's what we did for a month. We ate at the homeless shelter and got food from the churches. That way I could take that 500 and use it to buy books every single day and roll it into our Amazon. We only had to do that for 1 month at the homeless shelter, but we would still keep going to churches getting food, and I would just keep reinvesting into Amazon. Eventually, one day my boss flipped out on me and I just quit. And since then on, I went full on into Amazon. I remember the first year full time, I had like 100 grand in the bank, and I had never had like 5,000 saved in my entire life. So I was living in an apartment that was like $1,000 a month. Needless to say, my lifestyle has changed a lot since then. The last probably almost 4 years ago, I happened to find a book one day that was called Crush It by a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, and I had never knew who that was. Read the book, figured out who he was, realized I wasn't doing social media right, realized that I had, like a golden gift to give to people that would make them want to pay attention to me on social media. Started doing that. And here we are, 3.5 years later. And now I make more money off of social media than I do actually selling stuff on Amazon, even though I still do that. And what's more important than the money and crazier is that I now have it changed me a lot. I have a life of fulfillment or a sense of purpose and passion. Like I feel like I was supposed to do this. I was supposed to be here helping people, because what's the purpose of like me being here to make money? Like that's cool for myself, but to help other people make money and to like change their life and change their circumstances, like to help, I can't go back in time and help myself. We don't have a time machine, but there's plenty of kids that have parents that need my help right now. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what I'm doing, and it like transformed me. I used to be a really selfish person, and now I know that like really is the way is just to give, 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 and the universe just keeps giving back to you. It's amazing. So I'm super blessed to be, making over six figures a year off of social media, starting from scratch in about 3.5 years. And that's where we're at now.